Fair enough. All right, hello everyone. Welcome once again to Editing the Academy. This is Darryl's Top 20, number 18. The movie that we're going to talk about is Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. And I have to find my notes for where I put that. Okay, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Written, directed by the Daniels, Daniel Kwan, Daniel Scheinert. I hope I pronounced your name correctly, sir. Who produced it with Anthony and Joe Russo, who are like the big budget Marvel dudes, and Jonathan Wang. The film stars Michelle Yeoh, Stephanie Hsu, Ke Huy Quan, Jamie Lee Curtis, and James Hong. It had 11 Academy Award nominations, won 7, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress for Yeoh, Best Supporting Actor for Quan, Best Supporting Actress for Jamie Lee Curtis, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Film Editing. Okay. I am going to acknowledge up front a couple things with this movie.
Okay.
Number one, this movie 100% benefits from being done in the year that it was.
I agree.
Without the prior cinematic history, this film would not resonate nearly as much, I think, with myself or any of the other audiences. There's a lot of shortcuts this film takes to get an emotional response or to give you information that rely on the fact that the person watching this has seen a lot of movies.
I think that's true.
And it takes total advantage of that to its favor, 100%. But I'm saying if this came out in the 1970s or the 1980s, which we're now dipping into, this would not have worked nearly as well.
Okay.
So that's acknowledgement number one.
Okay.
Acknowledgement number two, and one of the reasons why I love this movie so much, it is rare in film that you can say the following thing. That is unlike anything I've ever seen before.
And I had no idea what was going to happen. Yep, literally none.
So those two things, I think, are the principal reasons why I enjoy this movie so much. While a lot of the things they do throughout the movie are tropes that they build on and they rely on you knowing these certain things, they use them in such an interesting way that they don't feel like tropes at all. They don't feel like they're falling back on something. There's a scene, this is just an easy example of them using cinematic history. There's the scene in the universe where Michelle Yeoh's character is the super action star, and she runs into her husband again, they've been together, they split, and she leaves and they're outside in the alleyway and he's smoking.
Yep.
And it's all like, it's that 1950s, 1940s kind of dark lighting.
Yes.
And he's kind of back to her like this, and she asks him a question, and he takes a drag of a cigarette and turns as he's exhaling. I'm like, that is classic 30s, 40s,
Very
right
film
there.
noir. Yep.
Yeah. So, tons of stuff like that throughout this movie, all over the place.
These directors must be huge film buffs.
Yeah,
and
they would have to be.
Yeah.
The entire film itself, with all of this stuff put on top of it, and one of the things that I like about very successful films that can do this, it's a very simple story. It's honestly just a story about a mom and a daughter not getting along.
Absolutely.
With all sorts of stuff thrown on top of it. But that's the essential story, and it just gets told and repeated in so many different interesting ways that they don't have to tell the full story. Like, this could have easily been just like a household drama, and you could tell that same story of a mom and a daughter not getting along and then eventually recognizing
And they have.
Yeah.
Like, they have told that story.
But they're telling that story that we know in such a unique and interesting way that it is almost not the same story anymore. Like, the story becomes elevated by the nature of the storytelling. And this is a clue for the big argument that I keep having, like, why do certain movies work, why don't certain movies work? And it's the nature of how they tell the story that I think is a big resonator for me. I loved how they told the story. There's, like, it's filled, one of the big things for me are quotable lines. They have some great lines. Like, I didn't catch it until, I caught it the first time and then I forgot about it, then I caught it again very early on when they're in the laundromat before things all go awry. She's looking for a tag for one of the bags, and the husband is like, well, I moved them upstairs. I think the clothes are happier there.
He was adorable.
Oh, God, yeah.
Oh, my God, he's adorable.
Quick side note, there's a podcast that he did, Armchair Expert, one that I listen to a lot with Dak Shepard, and he's on there.
Oh, okay.
You should listen to it.
Okay.
He has had the most bizarre and amazing life. I mean, my God. Anyway, check that one out. That's the probably only time I'm going to tell you to go watch something else, but that's amazing. The initial scene where Ke breaks into another Ke is amazing. How well it was acted, how well it was handled. It's in the elevator
Yep.
when suddenly, and like the umbrella,
Yeah.
and the small little moments between the two of
His
them.
posture changes. He absolutely becomes another person.
And her reactions to that, and when she starts flipping around in universes, just show the brilliance of how small little subtle actions can be so much better than something big and amazing.
Yep.
And that this movie is filled with those small little moments, and each one of them gets pulled off, and it's just amazing.
Do you think it makes a difference that they are movie actors rather than theater actors? Because I've seen that it's the theater actors or people who come up from the theater that come up with the big emotion because they're playing to the back seats.
Yes, I think that initial training plays a part in it, but we've also seen people that flip back and forth who
True.
are amazing. Like
True.
they've got their start in theater, but then they become film stars,
Yeah.
and they'll occasionally go back and do it. Like Denzel Washington goes and does a play every 2 or 3 years,
Good point.
and he can do both.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. There's a lot of films that do what this film does, but they don't handle it as well. And that is here's the situation, I know you're not going to believe me, it's super bizarre and weird, but you 100% have to trust me, and trust me right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of films do that, and there's various
Come
ways
with me
that...
if you want to live.
Exactly. And there's various ways that people try to get the character to buy into that very quickly. I thought this was one of the more fun ones.
Oh yeah, totally fun.
She just she it's not that she doesn't have a choice, it's that she almost just resigns herself to I don't understand any of this, so I might as well just go with it.
Give myself over to it.
Yeah. The back and forth when they go through the different universes is just beautifully, expertly handled. The editing in that process, again, it relies on the fact that we've seen a ton of films before, but that back and forth is perfectly paced. You get just enough information to influence whatever the major thing that is happening in that moment in the movie. Yes, the hot dog universe is ridiculously...
I may have had a question about that, yeah.
ridiculously over the top and silly and stupid. But there are so many over the top, ridiculous, silly, stupid things. She beats a guy up with a dildo.
There is that, yeah.
One of the guys to jump universes has to have something shoved up his ass. I mean, the movie is filled with just silly, stupid
But that's
things.
the premise of it. They're working in universe is you have to do something absolutely crazy, odd to get yourself
Correct.
trajected into that place.
Yes.
Yeah.
But all of those work. I mean, this is a movie 100% where you have to suspend every aspect of disbelief
Yes.
in order for you to enjoy the ride. And if you don't, you're going to have major problems with this. But if you just let your brain go, you can keep your brain active and see all of the brilliance that is happening in this film, but you don't have to have it fully engaged and analyzed. This movie gives you the information exactly at the pace that you need it to show how incredibly smart it is, but also for you to just have a fucking fun time. All right. The last thing I want to say, and then we can go back and forth, is... what other movie is going to have at the center of all the world's problems a bagel?
Very few, and I did enjoy that. So I do have a question for you about it. So I've watched it a couple times. I've enjoyed it. It's a little weirder than I enjoy, just generally. So it's just because you do have to completely shut down and let it take over. And it's interesting and beautiful. I don't love it that much, but I think I appreciate it and think it's really cool. So you've had on a couple of these movies that we've talked about, you're like, yeah, I watched that 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and now I feel completely different.
Yeah.
So in 20 years from now, do you think you will feel the same about this movie, or do you think other movie archetypes and styles will make you look at this one differently?
I think this is one that will probably 5-10 years from now, because movies are getting, in my personal opinion, they're getting better and better every year.
Yeah.
I think this one will probably get pushed out of the list for something else.
Okay.
Like we've talked about offline, I struggle with the first 5 of this list, from 20 down to 16. I really struggled with what to put in, and I've taken things out and put it back in
Yes,
to the point of frustration.
Yes, you have.
For you. Which one are we doing this week? So I can very easily see something else coming along and pushing this particular one out. Will I feel different about it? I don't know. I'd have to put myself in that scenario. I don't think so, because again, this film is, you can say that it is unlike anything I've ever seen, and those films, even if they don't have the same resonance years later,
Yeah.
always live dear for me because
Yeah.
of that single achievement that they were able to do, which is so hard.
The thing I love about these people is that however insane and crazy the world was, these were very relatable, very normal people who were put in a crazy world.
Yes.
And that they didn't change fundamentally. I mean, you even when they changed characters, like even when it became Alpha Waymond, which like so the person was a different person. You could still see who he was, and he was the essence of himself. I thought his performance was amazing because he really distinctly became 3 to 4 to 5 different people. Evelyn was still Evelyn as herself in different circumstances,
Correct. Yep.
but this was different people all the way around.
Little background. After he stopped acting for a while, and he went in and started doing an action coordinator, like the assistant for action. And he did that for like 20 years.
Yeah.
Really complex things, and some big movies. I won't name them all now, but movies you definitely know. So when it came to the action sequences in this one, they asked him, did you help them choreograph that? And he's like, no, actually, if they wanted me to do something, I could tell them what my limitations were, but I didn't coordinate any of this. That is all 100% them. Which I thought was kind of interesting that he was cool enough to be like, no, even though I have the background, this is your film, I'm here to serve.
That's very cool.
Yeah,
that is very cool. So yeah. I really liked it. The one challenge I had, just when it came to the awards that were won, were Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Sue were up for Best Supporting Actress. And I loved them both. And I loved both of their performances. And Jamie Lee Curtis absolutely deserved it, but Stephanie Sue did as well. So I struggled with that a little bit.
I can see that one being slightly political, and people were like, we should really give it to Jamie Lee. She's been around forever. She deserves
royalty.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other person is still very young, and they're going to have probably a very long and illustrious career, and will get another shot at this. I can see that being some of the mentality.
I think so, because it's not to say that she didn't deserve it, because she absolutely did, but they both did. There's another movie we'll talk about in the future where I feel the same way.
Okay.
That I struggled because I could see both parties winning.
The last thing I want to say about this, and we've talked about this multiple times for other movies, it's always a challenge in a movie when you tackle so many different things to be able to give them all the attention they deserve, not overdo it, not underdo it, and still be able to pull off some form of conclusion with that. If you think about all the different things that this movie tackled, you had, there was some inherent racism, there was family dynamics, there was, we can't tell the grandfather that the granddaughter's gay because that's going to freak him out and cause problems for us. Like
economic challenges.
There's so much, and it was handled all beautifully. Like nothing got too much. No. It all got resolved. It all seemed to come to some sort of satisfactory resolution. Like I wasn't disappointed by any of the resolutions for any of these individual things that were happening. So I also give kudos, and that's writing and editing and making sure it all comes together. But
another piece of that, and I'd love your thoughts on this, is the backstory that you got was maybe a 30-second flash of her with her fathers, and then them in a car and driving away, and okay, I know what happened to these two people.
That's what I'm saying.
And it was 30 seconds tops.
Yeah, and that is a perfect example of how the film
tiny bit.
And it relies on the fact that you've seen this before. You know this 2-second scene, you know what that scene means because you've seen it explored at length in other things.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's a great example. Anyway, that's why I love this one. And I defended it well.
It's a good choice, and I'm not challenging you. So chill out.
See ya.